Quick question, what's your favorite game and why? Sounds like a simple question, right? My favorite game is Splatoon 2 because I played during what was probably the happiest time of my life, and thinking about it just brings me back to those golden days. However, would I go as far as to say it's the best game ever? I don't know. With so many great titles existing, it's hard to say what makes a game good, and more importantly, what makes a game better than others. Would you say your favorite game is the best ever? If yes, then you're wrong. That is, unless you say your favorite game is BTD6. Before I start listing everything I love about BTD6, I'll explain why I think it's a perfect game. Most candidates for the best game ever have loads and loads of content. They promise a great and large experience where you kill a god or something. You probably think it's crazy to assume that a silly monkey balloon game can possibly be better than that. However, BTD6 not only is incredibly fun, but it's also simple. Occam's razor states that the simplest solution is often the best. Now, Occam, as great of a philosopher as he was, probably said that because he was tired of dying in Dark Souls and blamed it on the complex controls. Or because he was a 14th century philosopher and referring to maths, not a gamer. However, I do agree that if you can make a game more entertaining with less steps, it will be better than a game that's equally as entertaining but with more steps. Bloons absolutely gets lots of points from this, since the concept is literally monkey kill balloon to get money to buy better monkey, and the gameplay doesn't really stray that much from that main idea. Of course, this doesn't mean that the simpler the game the better, since by that logic the best game would either be Pong or some shitty cash grab mobile game. What Bloons does is take its few bits of content and play around it. With just 24 monkeys, 3 paths each and 16 unique heroes, Bloons creates thousands of possible strategies. This makes the game have an experience that relies not on the content itself, but on how the player interacts with it. This practically unending gameplay is so incredibly fun that you forget that you're literally playing the same thing over and over again. Now, I'm sure you're thinking that there's lots of games that make you repeat the same gameplay and are fun to replay, most notably every roguelike ever, but those tend to have very complex mechanics in the end, and unless you find comically large planification more fun than the actual gameplay, Bloons is usually a lot more simple. I mean, you could micromanage and get to ultra late game, but come on, nobody does that. Bloons has a perfectly dumbass-friendly and accessible late game that consists in spamming paragons and tier 5s. You don't need that elaborate planning some people do, but I mean, you could do that, or you could only play up to round 40 and leave. That's the best thing, in Bloons you can do anything. I doubt that there's a game with a gameplay so simple and straightforward yet so customizable. To give you an idea, with only 8 tier 5 monkeys and a random hero you have more available combinations than possible Borderlands 3 builds, and that game is all about the builds. Of course, you'll never use those strats because they're simply absurd, but you get my point. Now, I would like to roughly explain each monkey with its 3 paths, but that would take lots of time and the video would be too long. Who am I kidding? You saw the length of the video already. The ball shooter. An army of cosplayers. This is the best tower in the game, said every November. Great for loops. Australian cyborg. The freaky monkey. Oh, does anyone actually use this? Great for loops again. Average Undertale fan game. Great for loops yet again. That's what she said. Call an ambulance, please. This guy's just a bridge. I don't think in my 300 hours of ballooning this guy even crossed my fucking mind once. Don't make cam jokes, they're not funny. Don't make cam jokes, they're not funny. Don't make acid cam, cam rain and super cam. God, that hurt to say. Leshy from Cult of the Lamb. People say the plasma monkey has 3 eyes because he has 3 lenses. Then is this guy a fucking undercover spider or something? Literally every upgrade in this path is faster firing, what the fuck. Camo detection if you're broke. Only used to one-shot bats. Since when do subs have fucking guns? Mom, can we have Ace Monkey? We have Ace Monkey at home. Ace Monkey at home. Fire in the hole! Here comes the money! The Ace keeps missing its shots? Use more dart. August 6, 1945. Oh hey ISAB. The heli you'll most likely use. You either misplaced a really expensive tower or you just got the monkey knowledge. This pad ends in tier 3, the rest is useless. August 9, 1945. The mortar keeps missing its shots? Use more shells. Fuck you, and armors your mob. Epic OP massive laser. Epic OP giant mech monkey. Magic! Ace Monkey 4th path. Necromancy! Somehow this is breaking 2 superhero copyrights at once. Someone hide this from DC. Oh, also God is here. How many shurikens do you want? Yes. Decent tower, but you need a few of them to work. Only a few of them. A bomb tower that's better than the whole bomb tower. The Alchemist. The only one. The Plasma Monkey Fan Club. The better Pirate Lord. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Opposite day, Absolute Zero. The fucking god of the sea. Welcome back, Bloon Shipper. This is actually a really good tower, but it just has no personality whatsoever. Who gave the house a crossbow? The CIA.
Here comes the money!
Build in a century.
If out of ideas, make the bottom path a moneymaker. And last but not least, actually last and least, the Beast Handler. Whoa, that's a lot of monkeys. And you can mix and match them in any order you want. Now you get what I mean by the endless combinations, right? It also feels nice to memorize them, especially when you start unconsciously recalling what each monkey does. Like, if you need something that can pop lead, your brain will probably go to a 200 Alchemist. Or maybe you'll see the monkeys that you have available and know what to upgrade to sort out any situation without having to sit and read what each upgrade does. It's not even that hard to memorize. Every upgrade is either too simple to not understand or too unique to forget once you have used it. You get to know each monkey in a way. Even though non-hero monkeys aren't really characters, they have a lot of personality displayed in how they look and act, which is a great fit from a design perspective. I have said in the past that I'm really into games with fleshed out characters and lots of world building, and while Bloons doesn't really have lore apart from that weird Ninja Kiwi blog, nor characters apart from the heroes, there's a pretty similar vibe going on. My guess is that recognizing a monkey from its abilities uses the same part of the brain as recognizing a character from its personality traits, but I'm not a neurologist, so don't quote me on that. That's not all. The game also has a bunch of different game modes that all follow the same simple base rule, making any of them recognizable as the same game, but different enough to make a unique experience. You could argue that nobody plays those game modes, and yeah, fair enough actually, but they're still really good, okay, I promise. The main game mode is the good old tower defense. You need to survive a certain number of rounds using towers, and each one gives you money to upgrade more towers and all that. You know what a tower defense is, I'm not gonna bore you with that. From this simple and fairly easy gameplay, to be honest, come a bunch of other game modes that spice up the gameplay in really creative ways. Also, at the time I'm writing this, the roguelike DLC hasn't been released yet, so I'm just gonna pretend it doesn't exist. The simplest of these game modes are challenges. Every good strategy game has to have a challenge mode. The Battle of Polytopia has it, Civ 6 has it, fucking chess.com has it, and Bloons, of course, is no exception. In challenges you have to beat some rounds with a bunch of limitations to make it harder. Most just ban some path or monkey to shake things up a bit, while others straight up give you a budget or very small amount of options. So much so that the more extreme cases feel like puzzles rather than a tower defense. This really is just a great game design feat. I mean, the same simple game with some options tweaked feels like a completely different genre, sparking all sorts of challenges that you can easily create yourself for others to enjoy. The Ninja Kiwi challenges, aka the Tales, are pretty good too, but I'm just not too sure about the story they have. Whatever, I'm just analyzing the game from a gameplay standpoint because the whole artistic side, mainly story and graphics, are not really excellent. The soundtrack is a bop though, that's for sure. Anyways, we're getting sidetracked, let's go back to game modes. Another alternative game mode are the Odysseys. Most people hate on these because they're basically just 5 mostly boring challenges since you have a limited amount of monkeys that you can choose for all 5. Honestly, I have to agree with that, they don't really have an interesting spin on the tower defense gameplay. However, extreme mode exists. That means if you use some monkeys in the first island, you won't have them available on the next one, making you have to consider monkeys as a resource between challenges. This is a really nice, smart and simple way to make a tower defense more interesting, but these types of odysseys are so rare, and even when they do appear, they just have lots and lots of monkeys available, making them often too easy to even consider rationalizing monkey usage. So yeah, odysseys are kinda shit. They should all just be extra hard extreme mode or something. A game mode that isn't shit though are the boss fights. Bosses in most tower defense games are often just big enemies, like the role MOABs, BFBs and COMGs had in previous Bloons games. These bosses, however, are actually different. Every 20 rounds a boss appears that has a shit ton of HP and moves really slow. You often start with more cash than usual and are encouraged to invest in banana farms to get more money so that you can beat the boss. You're also forced to base your defense around the boss and think about how what you do can be useful for future tiers of the boss. This game mode is probably the most unique experience since you have to constantly think ahead economically and strategically. Plus, every boss has a certain catch that will influence your defense. Lich heals near a buff monkey, so no buffs. Red Bloon negates 1 damage of every projectile, so only high popping power from now on. Blast of Bloons actually gets you to try out the Ice Monkey, etc, etc. In my opinion, boss fights are the funnest game mode in BTD6, and there's even boss events every other week that ban certain monkeys or add conditions to the mix and make you think even harder. This truly is peak Bloons. Now, the last game mode that I consider fun enough to count as a game mode is Conquested Territory, but not the Conquested Territory of BTD6, no, I mean the real Conquested Territory, the OG Bloons Monkey City. This isn't a game mode but actually a spin-off, I know, but it still proves the point of how well the Bloons gameplay works in different situations or straight-up game genres. In a nutshell, Monkey City is just Bloons Clash of Clans. In this game, as the title suggests, you have to build a city. Apart from the pretty basic Clash of Clans mechanics of waiting an eternity to upgrade a monkey, the game implements really nicely the tower defense aspect of the franchise. In order to expand your city, you need to gain terrain in the form of tiles, and to get those you need to play small games of tower defense, with the further away from the center being harder levels. This creates another fairly simple gameplay loop where you get more land, use it to upgrade your city, which upgrades your monkey and lets you conquer harder territories. And of course, inside each tile you play a good old game of the already perfect Bloons formula. This game is just awesome. Ninja Kiwi, stop working on your Rogue Legends or fucking card store but make Monkey City 2. Make it the same thing but with the BTD6 towers and graphics and boom, you just created peak. Honestly, Monkey City is so good it's hard to even imagine a better spin-off. And yet, Bloons TV Battles baby! A competitive Bloons multiplayer that once again takes a spin at the BTD signature gameplay, making 2 people play 2 games simultaneously while being able to fuck each other up at any time. In this case, the game really changes, and I mean really changes. Similarly to the boss events in BTD6, you're not just thinking about getting through the rounds. You not only have to survive the waves of Bloons, but keep up with your opponent economically or else you have an advantage and win. You can risk attacking him, but if he manages to defend your attack, you'll pretty much be ruined, which creates a great risk-reward ratio. And the best thing is that, despite everything I just said, this still feels like Bloons. Defending against a massive wave your opponent sent you feels exactly the same as defending against some particularly bitchy wave in regular Bloons. Upgrading your economy feels the same as it does in every other Bloons games, and building your defense has the same amount of complexity. The question here is, why does this still feel like Bloons? The answer is quite simple. That's it. It's not that the answer is simple, the answer is that Bloons is simple. The identity of Bloons as an experience is so simple that it can be replicated pristinely by just slapping monkeys and balloons into any tower defense. I don't mean it only conceptually, of course, I also mean gameplay-wise. The classic tower defense paired with the path system, while being pretty unoriginal and bland, can make any game, as shitty as it may be, scream out Bloons if paired with the same recognizable characters. And even though there's a lot more games with recognizable characters, some probably more so than Bloons, what BTD6 manages to achieve is a whole nother level. The experience of Bloons is something that you can understand by just playing for 5 minutes, and that you most likely will enjoy redoing. And this experience, even if you don't realize it, is pretty much perfect. Being formed of extremely simple ideas such as basic character designs and overused gameplay mechanics, yet coming together as a melody that just feels right in every scenario. As a tower defense, there is no doubt that Bloons has reached perfection. Adding more paths for monkeys or more Bloons would only make the game unnecessarily complex and decrease its quality in my opinion. Similarly to how every Minecraft fan complains by saying new updates don't feel Minecrafty, I too would complain if Ninja Kiwi turned the core gameplay of Bloons into something different. However, unlike Minecraft, Ninja Kiwi doesn't expand the core gameplay, it expands different forms of gameplay that all share a connection to the core mechanics. BTD6 completely revolutionized the Bloons core with the third path and different cross paths, and yes, people did say it didn't feel Bloony at first. I mean, just look at the abysmal difference between content in each game. In BTD1 there were only 5 monkeys with 2 individual upgrades each. There was just 1 map, 1 difficulty and 6 Bloon types, basically no customization. In BTD2 we got 1 new monkey plus the road items. We also got 3 maps, 1 for each difficulty of the game. Still, it's no big change. In BTD3 we got 2 new monkeys, 8 maps, a path system with 4 upgrades total and the first boss enemy, the Moab. So far, the growth between each game has been quite linear. In BTD4 though, things start to get exponential. In this game there are 15 towers, including the banana farm, probably the most influential of them all. Each monkey has 4 upgrades in just one path. There are 14 maps, 4 difficulties including Apocalypse, the first alternative game mode, a main menu, and camo balloons, one of the most iconic and defining features of the franchise. In BTD5, the growth keeps getting bigger, with 21 monkeys, each having 2 paths of upgrades from which you can only pick one, essentially doubling the amount of towers. We also got 51 maps of ranging categories, 7 difficulties, and a graphic revamp much better than the one in BTD4. Finally, in BTD6 we have 24 monkeys with 3 paths and different cross paths, 16 heroes, 21 bloon types plus the fortified, camo and rigor properties which can be mixed together, 78 maps, 14 difficulties, 7 game modes and an entire DLC with a whole new endless way of playing. We have all of this and much more so far. Remember that the game will keep getting updated for a long time, so we can only imagine how much stuff it will eventually have. And yes, I know it's a really drastic change from previous games, but personally I think they just perfected it. And I'm pretty sure that they think that as well, since they have said already in the past how they don't have plans for any future BTD games because there is just no need for it. And fair enough, they're right. The gameplay in BTD6 is infinitely versatile, and even though eventually you'll get bored of trying out different tower defense strategies because, let's be honest, you get tired of Bloons sometimes, there's a much wider range of experiences in the form of game modes, spin-offs, self-imposed challenges, not to mention mods, that can extend this simple former Flash game into a massive sandbox experience. Plus, they keep on making more and more games like the Rogue Legends that have the same gameplay and core identity as BTD6 but enlarges the range of experiences available in the game. I guess they also make spin-off like Cardstorm or Super Monkey 2, what the fuck is this? These don't really have the same core and feel as proper spin-offs, unlike Monkey City and BTD Battles, that feel like continuations of BTD6, or BTD5, whatever. If only we had a BTD6 version of this, that was actually good. By the way, I don't think releasing endless spin-offs instead of sequels is inherently good, that's called Valve mentality I reckon. Most games, as they are so complex, always have things to improve, and they do that through sequels, slowly perfecting the formula. Bloons, on the other hand, is absolutely perfect. Bloons is so good it doesn't need more sequel, it doesn't even need spin-offs. Ninja Kiwi is just merciful enough to bless us with them. BTD6 is the perfect game. BTD6 is the best game ever. Objection! Wait, something's wrong here. Let's return to the question I asked at the beginning of the video. If Bloons is the best game ever, then why did none of you say it's their favorite game? The truth is that being perfect is not the same as being good. What? How? It's quite simple really. Perfection, at least in this context, is an objective term. According to Occam's razor, Bloons is objectively perfect. However, what makes a game good is subjective. A game can be objectively of good quality, meaning it can be objectively good, but what we consider good is what we enjoy based on our experience. Let's compare, for example, Satisfactory and Astroneer. Both games have a similar premise and are incredibly fun. I think the best of the two is Satisfactory because the gameplay loop is more rewarding. True, but Astroneer has a very nice underlying feeling of peace and calmness that Satisfactory could never achieve. Both of those are objective arguments, but what game is best is still determined by what you have the most fun or enjoyment playing. Something similar happens with Bloons. In this video I stated why I think Bloons is objectively perfect, because it cannot be improved. However, some of you could argue that some other game fits my description of perfection better. Or maybe with a different definition of perfection, Bloons could not even be perfect at all. I'm not saying this whole video is wrong, I actually think I'm right. But only when speaking in objective terms. In reality, perfection is usually the least popular criteria for people to choose what games they like. You most likely pick your favorite game of a certain aspect you enjoyed, or maybe you did of a feeling you related to, or just the fun you had playing it, I don't know. The point is that there is no way to determine what the best game is. So keep playing whatever you enjoyed, as objectively shitty as it may be. It's all a matter of likes, dislikes, fun, deepness, immersion, nostalgia, or simply vibes. You don't need to defend what you think the best game ever is with a 20-minute video because it won't make it any less of an opinion. Maybe if the video finished by clarifying that its argument is open to criticism and interpretation, but I don't know. About that, and to round off with the video, remember that everything I said is open to criticism and interpretation. Feel free to leave it down in the comments if you have any other argument as to why your favorite game is the best. And if you think that my argument is simply wrong and that Bloons isn't even perfect, then I'll see you down there, bitch! Whether or not my point is fair, what matters to me is that you watched this video until the end and that you enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time watching it because this video really was a pain to make. Until we meet again, I'll be playing some more Bloons and praying for Monkey City 2 to release. But for now, and without more Bloons to pop, thank you so much for watching, and as always, thanks for the views.